No male should ever approach a woman in a parking lot. Ever. No male should ever approach a woman in a parking lot.
And so if any male ever approaches you within that 30-foot spectrum, I mean, you can't get mad at someone who's 50 feet away. That wouldn't make sense. But within 30 feet, feel free to yell at the top of your lungs to stay away. Coach Greg, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about the 30-foot bubble that now exists around all females. And I'm going to do so in a way to try to not get canceled. And so, as you know, in the past, I made a video talked about a male's right to speak to a girl at a gas station, but I was wrong, got canceled on TikTok. But that was 2022. And in 2023, that distance, that bubble that exists between women and everyone else in the world, well, it's been extended. You cannot approach a woman to within 30 feet. And we're going to go over this video. It went viral on TikTok, and we're using it to explain to men you need to stay away. You're thinking it's okay to approach women to talk to girls, but it's not. And remember, you also have to navigate whether or not someone is male or female, as you can identify as whatever you want. And so please watch this video. We're going to learn together so that we can avoid getting in trouble, getting sued, getting harassed, and so on.
I'm literally shaking right now because I just had a man approach me in a parking lot and it went fine, and I'm going to tell you why it went fine and how to address it.
Okay, and so first things first, she's shaking right now because a male approached her in a parking lot. But how did she know it was a male? Did the person approaching her say, hey, my pronouns are he, him? Because if he didn't, how does she know it was actually a male? Could have been a female. And so to me, that's the first issue I have with this video. How does she actually know the person was actually a male? I mean, how dare she assume someone's gender?
It scared me. I'm literally shaking. So this guy, I'm alone with my son.
And so she's clearly scared, she's nervous, she's shaking, and I don't want to downplay that. She's clearly had this experience. I'm not trying to say she's pretending or faking anything. This is a real, true, actual emotion that she's feeling. And so as you can see, there are several cars in the background. She appears to be at a mall or some form of financial establishment, out shopping, doing whatever with her son. And so we have an adult female walking around with a child who identifies as being male.
He's, excuse me, miss, and I don't know why in the hell he was approaching me or what he was trying to do. And before he was probably 30 feet from me when he said, excuse me, ma'am.
And so this person who she assumes is male, we don't know that for sure. She said he stopped 30 feet away from her and said, excuse me, ma'am. And so clearly this individual, who may or may not be male, wanted to have a conversation of her of some sort, as he said, excuse me, ma'am. Normally, when you say excuse me and ma'am, those are polite terms. It doesn't seem confrontational, doesn't seem scary, doesn't seem like the person's out to harm her in any way. But we don't know. I was not there. I didn't see the person's image. I don't know their reaction. I don't know how fast you approach her. And remember, 78% of communication is nonverbal. But based on what I've heard so far, it does appear to be a normal interaction of people in the real world.
And I turned around and I literally yelled at him and I said, do not approach me. And he immediately started going in the other direction.
And so she looked at him after saying, excuse me, ma'am, and she immediately screamed at him and said, do not approach me. And so being a normal human being, he turned around and started walking the opposite way. And so to me, this interaction, it appears to be normal. I'm not saying she overreacted. She felt this way. She was fearful of this individual, and she has every right to be. After all, she assumed it was a male. Had it been a female? Well, by all means, come on in, excuse me, man. What would you like some help with? Perhaps he noticed the dog was locked in a car and was wondering if she had a cell phone to call the police. Or maybe he lost his child, was looking for help, or had been robbed by another individual, perhaps a male. And so perhaps he needed to get a cell phone to call someone, the police, ambulance, I don't know. Another possibility, he was having a medical emergency. He didn't know what to do. He may have had a flat tire, his engine wouldn't start it, and he simply needed to ask her something. Or maybe he was lost. He couldn't find out where he's going. And so he walked up to her in a parking lot with several vehicles, and within 30 feet, excuse me, ma'am, was about to ask a question. But how dare he do this? I mean, after all, if he was in fact a male, of which we don't have proof of that, we don't know if he identified as male or female, but if he was in fact a male, how dare you? You're a male approaching a female in a parking lot full of other cars in the middle of the day? What's wrong with you?
Do not approach me. Do not approach me. And he, of course, got what the F did it? He started cussing and yelling, what's your problem?
And the fact that she's here today, right now, to tell her story, well, she owes it to a certain book she read. I don't know the name, but it told her what to do. Scream forcefully. Do not approach me. She repeated over and over and over and over again. And so the guy, of course, looking at her thinking, well, what did I do? Why are you yelling at me? I just had a question. But we don't know his motives. He's not here to defend himself. Perhaps he was going to ask her for money. I don't know. Perhaps he wasn't over 6 feet tall, a Chad, extremely good looking. And so, of course, she's going to be fearful of this guy. Now, if he had been dressed in a suit, a tie, perhaps handsome, 6 feet tall, looked wealthy, well, she may have had a different reaction. But perhaps his clothes weren't very nice. He might not look rich. Perhaps he just finished working out, was sweaty. And so it's very difficult to judge a book by its cover. We don't know what his true intentions were on the inside. And clearly she was scared. She's still shaking and trembling. And so you may judge her as having done the wrong thing of overreacting, but that's how she felt. And you can't change how you're feeling. And so I don't personally agree with how she handled herself in this situation. I mean, if it was in the middle of the night and she was alone and scared, she's with her child, of course she's going to defend herself. But in the middle of the day with cars around, it doesn't seem to be that scary. But that's me. I'm obviously biased because I am in fact a male. I clearly have more muscle. I look like I can defend myself, and if not, I could actually perhaps run away. And so I'm not trying to say that I know what it's like to be her. I don't know. But I am giving her the benefit of the doubt. She's doing what she feels was best for her. But I'm using this video to teach other males to stay away. There's a 30-foot buffer around every woman you'll ever run into. Please avoid being this buffer if you, in fact, do identify as being male.
He didn't come anywhere near me. He crossed a couple cars down from my car and was like, continuing to cuss and say, what's your problem? And I say, you do not approach women in a parking lot.
And so clearly it's this person who she states was a male. We don't know that for sure. We don't have proof. Well, he was offended. He started cursing, walking a few cars away in order to get to perhaps his own vehicle, but all the while speaking profanity, of which she says we haven't heard what he actually said. But if I was in his position and someone started cursing at me and I didn't feel I was going to do anything wrong, perhaps I just had a normal question, I think I would also feel offended. And so I think she should understand that the other person's reaction to her reaction, it is in fact normal. And so of course she does have the right to scream and shout and tell him to stay away. But I also think that this person, who perhaps is a male, we don't know, that he or she has the right to feel offended and to voice his concerns. To say, hey, I'm just a normal person. I had a question, and perhaps from 30 plus feet away could say, I was just looking for directions to the mall. I mean, for all we know, it was Mr. Beast approaching her, gonna give her $10,000 for winning some kind of a challenge. You know, Mr. Beast does that. I see him walking around the mall, approaching strangers saying, hey, you want to win $10,000? Yay! And so sometimes people are just doing nice things. We don't know. But I do believe every person, male, female, circle, whatever you want to be, has the right to feel and experience certain emotions.
No male should ever approach a woman in a parking lot. Ever. No male should ever approach a woman in a parking lot.
And so if any male ever approaches you within that 30-foot spectrum, I mean, you can't get mad at someone who's 50 feet away. That wouldn't make sense. But within 30 feet, feel free to yell at the top of your lungs to stay away. You don't have a right to be within 30 feet of anyone if you're outside in a parking lot. And remember, this woman has a son. I don't know how old he is, but let's say he's 12. And so when your son grows up to be, I don't know, is it 18? And so once your son reaches 18 years of age, be sure to instruct him to stay away from all females. And please correct me if I'm wrong, right in the comments section. At what age is it that a male cannot approach a female? Is it 18? Is that the correct age? Is it 16? Or is it perhaps once they go through puberty? And are there certain exceptions to the rule? For example, you're a 30-year-old male, you suffer from type 1 diabetes, and you're having low sugar, and you're ready to pass out. Is it okay then to ask a woman a question, call 911? Is it okay to do that? But what if it's as simple as a dog is locked in a car and it's a very hot summer day? Is that okay? At what point is it okay versus not okay for someone who identifies as male to speak to someone who identifies as female? And so perhaps it was a simple mistake. Perhaps it was someone who identifies as a female who wanted to approach and speak to someone who identified as a female. And so she concludes with, no male should ever talk to a female in a parking lot. And I do believe we've established it's a 30-foot radius at which that is not comfortable. And so perhaps the proper procedure is from 40 feet away, you announce yourself. You say, excuse me, I identify myself as a male, and I believe that you may in fact identify as a female. And I would like to ask you a question. Is it okay if I speak to you? I mean you no harm. I promise it's just a normal question. My car won't start. I don't know what to do. I need a boost. I'm stuck here. I don't know what to do. Can you help me, ma'am? And so perhaps that's what you need to do. But let's go to the comment section, see what do people suggest, in the real world. And so 7,000 comments is quite a bit, not as much as the 58,000 negative comments when I made a video defending a male's right to speak to a woman at a gas station, of which, of course, I was wrong. It was 2022. You could no longer strike up a conversation of anyone at a gas station. But now it's 2023. We have to accommodate everyone, and so we have to make sure we're doing things correctly. And so let's go to the comment section. Thank you for sharing this. What book did you read this in? I seriously believe that every parent should read this book, Protect Yourself. And so please head over to Chapters or Amazon, pick up your book. I believe it's called Protect Yourself. And remember, she survived this incident due to her having read this book. Her repeated yelling, saying, "Do not approach me," it in fact saved her life. Yesterday, a man was 30 feet away from me and said, "Excuse me, sir," and then he asked for directions. Yeah, but see, what this person doesn't understand is they were a male. It's completely different when it's a female. Of course, you can approach a male within 30 feet and ask for directions, but you cannot approach a female. And so another comment from Danielle Mitchell, of which I'm going to have to agree with her. I refuse to be a statistic at the risk of insulting someone. And so really, I'm not being sarcastic. I do defend her right. If she is in fact fearful, it's perfectly okay to do something about it. And for many of you, you likely think she's overreacting, but you aren't there. You're not walking in her shoes with her son. So her survival instincts took over. She had just read the book and she learned what to do, and she did it. And so how can we be critical of this? "Excuse me, miss, you forgot your wallet. Do not approach me." And so that is a valid point. I did not in fact think of it. Thank you for writing this comment. And so is it okay to walk up to someone within 30 feet if you perhaps notice that they dropped their wallet, perhaps their cell phone? I mean, just the other day, I went in for a haircut. I left my hearing aid on the table. I left the building. The woman ran out chasing me, yelling for me to come back. And so imagine if I had been a woman with a hearing aid and I ran out and it was a male giving me a haircut, would it in fact be okay for them to run out yelling, "You forgot your hearing aid"? And so please write in the comment section if it's to return an item, wallet, cell phone, purse, missed article of clothing, is it okay to approach a woman within 30 feet? And if it's not, what are the proper procedures? Great comment from Mace. I would say #1 comment I've read so far. So he said, "Excuse me," and you screamed at him. Well, yes, exactly. You were paying attention. You watched her TikTok. Why are you writing something so obvious? I mean, why waste a comment? That's a silly comment. She clearly did this, and you're repeating what she did, and so why would you bother? Now, this is how an innocent person ends up in prison for 35 years. And so again, I never thought of this. Imagine that person. People are around, and they're hearing screaming, "Do not approach me." What if somebody else who's trying to be a hero, perhaps a UFC fighter, police officer, and so on, hears this? And so you hear this, you hear the person, "Do not approach me," and you run in to save the day. You perhaps run, chase down this individual, tackle him. Perhaps he ends up injured in the hospital. Perhaps the police are called. And so that is something scary. I never thought of that. And so my advice to everyone, please always have your cameras out recording everything and anything that goes on in your entire life. Because if you do, you'll have backup recorded evidence showing exactly what happened, in the real world. And so I highly recommend everyone get a GoPro, obviously walk around with your cameras and phones always recording, always have it on record, just in case something like this should ever come up. This was a little extra. How do you know he wasn't trying to tell you something? Her response, he wasn't. But yet, how does she know? He said, "Excuse me, ma'am," and then she screamed at him and he walked away. How did she know what he was going to say? How do we know he didn't find a wallet, cell phone, $100 bill on the floor, credit card, whatever, and saw it as she walked past and thought, "Oh, maybe this is her. Excuse me, ma'am, did you drop?" Oh, but she didn't finish his sentence. And so how does she really know? She walked away. I'm assuming she didn't ask for his phone number. They don't have contact. They're not friends on Facebook. And so how would she know what he actually wanted to ask her? She wouldn't. "Excuse me, ma'am, you dropped you." Response, "Do not approach me." But ma'am, do not approach me. And so I do think that's a valid comment that people should be aware that there perhaps was something valid, that he wasn't trying to do something to her maliciously, that he was perhaps just trying to help her. I wonder what percentage of men have decided it would be safest to stay single. 100%. Everyone knows it's dangerous to talk to a girl, approach a girl, look at a girl, turn your head over, whether it's in the gym, the gas station, the parking lot, in the grocery store. And now in 2023, it's even worse. We don't know if they identify as female. We don't know. They perhaps identify as male, and so we don't know what to do. If we don't have their pronouns, how are we supposed to know how to interact? And even if we do, what do we then say? And so here's someone else's experience. I approached a woman in a car park. She dropped a $5 note. I said, "Excuse me, you dropped this." I gave it to her, and she said, "Oh, thank you." And so perhaps that was in 2022. Listen, it's 2023. And so if you see anything on the ground, turn and walk away. And in fact, if there's a woman within 35 feet of you, please turn and walk away. Buffer that distance. I mean, in 2020, with that thing going around, you had to stay 6 feet away because, bugs and things floating around the air. But now it's 2023. You need a 30-foot buffer between you and any other female. And the problem is we don't know who's identifying as male, who's identifying as female. You can't ask for everyone's pronouns every time we see them. And so just stay 30 feet away from everyone. Or better yet, just don't go outside. Live like the Bubble Boy. Stay inside of the house. Don't go anywhere.
That's right, the Bubble Boy.
What's a bubble boy?
He's a boy who lives in a bubble.
Why would you need to go anywhere? You can sit, you can watch Coach Greg and chill. You don't need to leave the house. Train at home, eat at home, do everything at home. You can play video games online. Even Coach Greg is playing videos now. I did a live stream, going to do another one next week. And so why leave the house? Why leave the safety and comfort of your own home? To me, that is ridiculous. I mean, the fact that people dare venture out in 2023 into the real world. I mean, you guys, girls, circles, you are so brave. I don't know how you do it. And so let me know in the comments section, what do you think of all this? And so, of course, it's a Coach Greg video. And so I'm going to advertise my #1 supplement, GO2 Max, the main ingredient, NMN. It was featured on the Joe Rogan podcast featuring Andrew Huberman. They spoke at length of the benefits of NMN, how it improves cardio, can perhaps delay the aging process. Strongly recommend you go and watch episode 1958. It's the final 16 and a half minutes. I'm sure if you watch this, you will be as amazed as I am.
Energy, my recovery from workouts, much better.
This is the #1 supplement that I believe you can take in the entire world. It's 100% natural. It's not banned by WADA, no negative side effects, and has human scientific studies showing it actually works in the real world. It improves cardio, your walking test scores for the average person, as well as improves your overall fitness for advanced athletes, for example, runners. So please head over to my website, code Greg, 10% off. And if you're looking for a free diet and training program, it's over 50 pages. Head over to the website. It's free. Remember, you enter your first and last name, email address. You're going to get this right to you in your own email address. Ending it here. Subscribe, click the bell button, like this video if you in fact liked it. If you don't like it, don't have to like it. Subscribe and get the bell button to get notified right away. Please comment to help and boost that algorithm. Helps boost it to so many other people. And of course, watch one of the bloops. As always, cookbooks, training books, coaching plans by me and my team, phone consults, the Circle Diet Book, my HGLT clothing line, as well as supplements. Head over to the website. And until next time, I am out.